Exercise 6. In this exercise we take a look at the functionality in ProEngineer with regards to creating two-dimensional drawings from 3D models. We begin, as you could say, actually taking a look at what our goal is, and in this case you can see it's a two-dimensional blueprint, and we want to create several different views: front, top, right, isometric, and as well as a couple of additional views, as you can see here, that are more advanced: section views, detail views, and auxiliary views. We begin by starting a new drawing file. So go to File, New, and find Drawing. Go ahead and name this E6 for Exercise 6 and hit OK. In this case we're going to use Empty With Format, and if you look down below here you'll see there's a Browse option. Click on Browse and you'll find the A size. This is where you could find all the different sizes and formats to choose from, both ANSI and ISO standards. The A format is what we're looking for. Stay away from the A1, 2, 3, 4, so on, as those are ISO standards versus we're working in the ANSI standards. Hit Open and hit OK. The first thing you'll notice is that we have a template set out. What we want to do is begin by inserting views of a specific part. What we probably want to do ahead of time is make sure that the part file is open, in this case Exercise 6, which I did. And you could find that if you go into the training files that you were given and find the Exercise 6 in the top level directory. And at this time actually you could even just right mouse button click, and under Insert General View, if it does not see it, you could browse for it. But to begin, just right mouse button click and go to Insert General View, and then left mouse button click to drop the view in wherever your pointer is located. We can see it comes in this case mine came in as an isometric view, perhaps might come in trimetric. Either way, we actually want a front view. So from the list on the right hand side we got a drawing view list for view types, and you'll see there's front. Just go ahead and select front and hit Apply, and you can see it'll update. Go ahead and hit Close, and then to refresh the screen there's the Repaint button up at the top, or Control R is a fast key. As far as our scale, we could tell what scale it came in at. The lower left hand corner we have a scale and it says 1 to 6. You probably want to set this to a quarter scale, so double click where it says 1 to 6 and you'll get the Enter Value for Scale option box. Go ahead and click on the 6 or whatever value you might have and type in 4 or 1/4 and hit the green check mark to accept the value. If you zoom out a little bit using the scroll, you'll see that we might want to make some additional space here so we could drop in some additional views. If you try and move it, it might be difficult because by default it's always locked in position. So you might have to right mouse button click over the view and find an option, Lock View Movement, and uncheck it. Make sure there's not a check next to it. If there is, click on it and it'll remove the check. And then click again off of that box. And now you should be able to just grab the view with the left mouse button, holding it down, and you can drag it and relocate it to wherever you'd like. The next type of view we're going to look at is a projection view. And if those of you who are transitioning from version 4 to ProEngineer 5, there is a significant difference in the locations of where you can find these. Version 4, it's all located under the View dialog box in the pull-down menu. Here we have the Microsoft ribbon icons that are the new default that you'll see in many software programs. In this case, make sure you're set to the Layout tab and find the projection icon. Select it, and it will automatically project or unfold views off of that original view you dropped in. In this case, we want a top view. Go ahead and select the first view you dropped in, which was the front view. Then go back to projection and let's drag off a right side view and click to drop it. We need one more view of a projection off of the top view, which we're going to create a section view from. And what we want to do is make sure you select the top view first and then go to projection and drag it up just above it. Now, to actually create a section view from here, it's a good idea to probably first turn on your planes. So under plane display, if it's not turned on already, the icon up here, make sure it's turned on and hit the repaint icon, and you'll see your planes located on your model. We'll end up using the front plane as it intersects to the dead center of the front view. So now double click on the projected view that you just created, and it will bring up the drawing view options which we saw earlier. From here, find the sections category and double click on it, and you'll find a 2D cross-section option. Click on that little dot to activate it. Below you'll see appear a little green plus symbol on a button. That's to add section views. Go ahead and select it. You'll see that there might be a couple additional views already located in there, as you could pre-create these from the 3D model and then bring them in later on. The way we're showing you is just to bring them in as we're creating the actual drawing. So we don't want to use either one of those if you do have them. So instead we're going to select the Create New option, and under the Menu Manager it'll give you some options for planar or an offset. This would be if you wanted to offset where the location of the section would take place. You can select offset, select the plane, and put in an explicit value for the distance that it's supposed to be offset. But in this case we want it to stay with planar and single, and hit Done. In the center of the screen, a pop-up menu will appear. It says enter a name for the cross-section. In this case I already had cross-sections A and B, so I'll give it C. In your case you could go ahead and call it A if you like, if there aren't any others that are there. Hit the green check mark to apply. The menu manager will appear again, and this time it's looking for a plane to generate the cross-section through. As I said before, that's the front plane on the front view that you want to select. So glide your pointer up to that front plane in the center of the top view, click, and now you have a green check mark that appears to the letter that you assigned to the name. Go ahead and hit OK, and now you should be able to see your cross-section. Now the first thing that a detailer would probably want to do is make sure that the note is not, or is more centered perhaps, versus how it's offset that we're seeing here by default. After we relocate this to make some additional space, we'll go ahead and address that. So we could move our views to better locations. And then finally, to address this issue with the section CC, in my case, the note, you have to go to the ribbon up at the top and find the Annotate tab. When you click on the Annotate tab, that allows you to select any notes or dimensions that might be on the print. It's like flipping between options versus working on just views versus annotations, which are notes and dimensions. Select the section CC or AA, whatever you might have, and drag it to relocate it so it is centered on the view. We actually no longer need the planes to appear there, so we could go back to the plane display icon up at the top and click on it to deactivate the planes. And once you zoom out or repaint, they'll disappear. One thing we need to address as well is that there should be, according to ANSI standards, even ISO standards, there should be a center line piercing through the original view that this is projected off of. To get that, go ahead and select the section view and right click on it then, and you'll find Add Arrows. Oh, actually we need to go back to Layout. Make sure you go to the Layout tab first on the ribbon at the top. Then you could right mouse button click on it and you'll find Add Arrows. And simply select the top view where the arrows belong and they'll appear. To adjust these arrows, you could just simply grab onto the endpoints, or the tips of the arrows, and relocate them. The next thing we'd like to do here is I'd like to show you how to create a detail view. To generate a detail view, we want to create a detail view of this region here. So we could go ahead and select Detail on the ribbon up at the top under Layout, and then it suggests we select the center point for the detail. So go ahead and select this vicinity here on an edge, and you'll see a red X appear. That's the center of your detail. Now we have to draw a circle around it. So just click using some dots surrounding the area until you get a circle or something that looks similar to a circle. And when you're about to close the circle, middle mouse click, and it will automatically generate a circle from that. Now, if you look at the command lines, saying select center point for drawing view, this is where we locate the location where we wanted to actually drop this. So click with the left mouse button and it will drop it in automatically. Notice the detail view comes out scaled twice the size, so instead of a quarter scale, it's a half scale. If you need to change that, you go to the Annotate tab on the ribbon at the top, and then just double click on the note, and you could actually type in on the digits there, 1 to 2, you could type in 1 to 1 if you wanted it at full scale, or some additional or different scale that you might like. The next type of view I'd like to address is the auxiliary view. Auxiliary views are unfolded from edges that might be at a specific angle that are difficult to extract using the front, top, and right positioning. So in this case, we'll find the auxiliary view under Layout, select it, and then select the edge of the flange on the right-hand side for it to unfold from there. And then drag out the box that you get a preview of, click to drop it, and there's the auxiliary view. Arrows, if desired, can be added the same way as they were in the section view by a simple right-click and then selecting where you'd like to position them. The next type of view we want to create is just a simple isometric view. We actually saw how to do that when we dropped in the front view, the very first view. That was just a right mouse button click where you wanted to locate it, insert general view, and then left click to drop again where the location of it's supposed to be. And we see over here under default orientation, yours may be set up for trimetric. If it's defaulted to isometric, that's fine. But either way, make sure it's set to isometric, hit apply, and OK. Some things we might want to address with these particular views, like how would we show hidden lines? As you can see, this is all defaulting to hidden lines removed. But maybe on this right side view, we might want to see hidden lines. To get that, just select the view, and then right mouse button click, and locate the properties of that view on the pull down. Under View Display, you'll see Display Style. In this case, it says No Hidden. Locate Hidden, and then hit apply and close. And now you can see they're what they call dimmed. They're slightly different color or variation on this particular view, but as soon as we print it out, actually they'll appear as a standard hidden line with the dashes. Also, over here, we might want to see tangent edges with a font versus just a solid line. To do that, select this isometric view, then right mouse button click and go to Properties, and under View Display again, where you find Tangent Edge Display Style, hit the little arrow to the right of it and select Phantom and hit OK. And now you can see it's put dashed edges on there. You could select whatever you like, hidden, just different types of dashes or line fonts from there. Okay, another thing we might want to address here is the crosshatching. If you don't like the crosshatching and how it appears, just select it so it turns red, one of the little crosshatch members. Then right mouse button click and go to Properties. On the right hand side, we'll get the Mod Crosshatch Menu Manager. We'll see Spacing, Angle, Offset, and Line Style. In this case, we just want to adjust the spacing, and we'll see down here under Overall we could adjust it. We can make it half the spacing, and you'll see it will increase or you can make it double to, I should say, decrease or increase, or put in an explicit value. The other options are there as well for the angle, the offset, line style. Just hit done. Now many of the settings that are in here you could adjust or find the defaults under File, and you'll find Drawing Options. And this brings up what I like to call the phone book of all the different options that are set into this drawing. For example, the very first option we see here, the drawing text height. So when we start inserting dimensions, what font size do we want? In this case, 0.15625. That's the height. We might want to change that because it's an A-size drawing to 0.100. Things like that we could adjust, and we'll look at that. And there's also different types of view styles we could adjust. If we want to see hidden lines, or if we want the projection type to switch from third angle to first angle, or vice versa, depending upon where in proximity you're located. If you're working for an engineering firm in Europe or overseas, you might want to flip that. The crosshatch styles can be adjusted here, as well as anything pretty much that needs to be adjusted can be found and located and changed here, including dual dimensions. You could have your metric equivalents in brackets above or below or to the right of the dimension, or vice versa. Okay, now onto the second half of this exercise. We want to start taking a look at annotations. Again, to adjust annotations, like for example, you can see we're overlapping here this text over some of the boxes or brackets. We have to make sure we click on Annotate, and then we could click on that and relocate it. Let's start adding some dimensions. There's two types of dimensions, and they're listed in your book. And if we scroll down here, we have imported or create. Import is to show the model annotations that were built into the model. As I talked about the very first day of class, range your layout when you're putting in dimensions how you'd like to see it if you're creating a drawing, or as best as you can. And then most of those will come up and appear, and you don't have to relocate them or do a whole lot of relocating or adjustments. And that's using this little flashlight we see here, which is Show Model Annotations. And then there's just the standard dimension or new reference you could add, and you could just basically click on edges like if you were just working on AutoCAD or any other types of system. You could actually just type in new values, or I should say new values. It will take the dimension and have it appear whatever the length of a line is, or the radius of an arc, and things like that. The difference between the two, the main difference is that these Show Model Annotations can actually be modified just by simply double-clicking on them. You could, in the drawing, change them, and it will update the part or the assembly, and so on and so forth. This is a great tool, especially in production, because a manager, for example, of a company could take a look at the drawings and quickly ascertain what might need to be changed, make the adjustment right on the dimension, and regenerate the model, and it'll update all the files associated with it, versus having to go into the part files and then the assemblies and updating all three of those things. This will take care of it all in one shot. Larger companies don't always use this because of that reason. They don't want a person who might not be qualified making changes to the drawing and then messing up the model. So it goes both ways. It has its good and its bad sides to it. So a lot of companies do actually use dimension new reference if they have people who just do the detailing on it. Alright, so let's take a look at how that works. As we can see here, we'll first start with just the standard dimension new reference. It's up here at the top. We just click on it, and we get a menu manager that appears to the right. And we could just select, for example, an edge there and an edge right here, and then middle click to drop the dimension. Okay, if you want a radius or a diameter, here's a little trick. To get a radius, you just click once on an edge and then middle click, and it will give you a radius of that. If you want that as a diameter, double click, click 2 times on the edge, and then middle click. and it will output the diameter instead. Now, if you don't like the way those appear, you could just escape out of there, and then you can right-click on this and go to flip arrows, and the arrows will actually appear on the outside versus the inside. And if you wanted to get rid of dimension, you could actually click on it and hit delete on your keyboard, and that will eliminate it. There's also an erase for dimensions that might actually be used to generate the model. And that's kind of a nice tool too, because you can bring them back. Over here I'm going to go ahead and flip these arrows. I just select the dimension, right click, hold down on that right mouse button for a second or two. Allow it to come up and click on flip arrows. Okay, here we can see that the dimensions are a little bit large for the size of the print we're working with. This is where that options under File, Drawing Options, comes in handy. Because the very first option at the top here is the drawing text height. Let's go ahead and select that. And then down below here is where we could actually change the value. So instead of 1.156, let's change it to 0.10. Hit Add Change, and OK. And the dimensions now, you can't see it yet until you refresh. You can kind of see a preview there. But hit the refresh or repaint, and now they're smaller. So you could change and adjust things pretty easily there. The only thing that doesn't necessarily change are some of the settings, like for example hidden lines and hidden lines removed on drawing views that are already pre-existing. You might have to change those individually, as you see here. Okay, now let's take a look at some of the other options here. If you double click on this, it brings up the dimension properties. It allows you to put in tolerance display. It also you could change the configuration, center, linear, basic, or maybe you want an inspection dimension. Watch how it puts a little round around that. You could adjust the text style and type in additional notes if you'd like in this little box here, and hit OK. Alright, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and use the flashlight tool over here, which is the Show Model Annotations, and see how that works. Go ahead and select that. And then over here we have Show Model Annotations. There's some tabs up at the top. We'll take a look at that. That's for like putting in GD&T and notes and things like that. We're going to keep it on the dimension, and then you just select what you want to add a dimension to, or what you want it to call up the dimensions from. In other words, whenever this was modeled, however it was modeled, using a profile obviously, it will bring up whatever dimensions it could find. So if I select it, you can see it brings up quite a few dimensions there. Now these are coming up with a dual display actually of a tolerance. We might want to adjust that. That's found in that File Options, and we could adjust that in just a little bit. But for right now, let's go ahead and put some of these in. Like for example, this one I want. Notice you could find it from the tree right here, or you could just select it, highlight it, and turns black to let you know that it's selected. One other dimension I might want is this one here. I'll just select it and hit OK. Notice it checked them off under Show. If you want to hide them, you just uncheck them. Hit OK. And now to get rid of that display style, we have to go to File, and we have to go to the Drawing Options once again. And that should be under Tolerance. And when we find the options that control the dimensional tolerance, you'll find Tolerance Display or Tall Display. Click on that. Right now see the value is set to Yes. We want to deactivate that. So under Value here, we click on the little arrow. It gives us the other option for No. Hit Add and Change and OK. And once you resize the screen or repaint it, it'll appear more like what you were expecting. These dimensions could be moved, and you can also grab the little dots of the extension lines and relocate them away from the part if they're overlapping. And sometimes there might be dimensions like this one, for example, that might want to actually put in a different view. What you can do is you select it, then right mouse button click, and there's an option to move item to view. And unfortunately I don't think you can see it. Let me move up a little bit here. move item to view. And now I'm going to zoom out, select this view where you want to drop it, and you'll see it actually cut it out of there and pasted it over here. Now we could locate that. And I could see that I might want to have some center lines in here. To insert center lines, they're automatically there on cylindrical objects, so there's no need to actually draw them in manually. The way you can bring them in is how we found with the flashlight. Select the flashlight, and over here, make sure you select the datum symbol tab at the top. Now select the view you'd like to have it in, and you'll see all of the different center lines appear from the cylindrical entities. Just select the ones you'd like to see. I'll take that one and this one, and hit OK. And now you've got your center lines. Let's do the same over on here. We'll go back to the flashlight. Make sure the datum tab is selected. Select the view, and just select the center marker here, and hit OK. Let's drop in a note. Down below here we could go ahead and under title, we could give it a note name. You could either click on the note tool or right mouse button click, either one, and you'll find note here, or you could just click on the icon up top here. The menu manager appears. You could have it with a leader or no leader. Gives you different options if you want it vertical or angular or horizontal. And then we could go ahead and hit make note. Go with the default. And then this allows us to pick a point. So let's drop it in right here. So click next to title and type in E6. Hit enter 2 times on your keyboard and it will apply it, and you can see it there. And that's how you insert a note. So for like dropping your name in on a drawing, you would do the same thing. You just go to the Make Note tool, Menu Manager, hit Make Note, select where you want to drop it, type it in, hit Enter 2 times. And then Done and Return when you're finished. Now if you want to print this out, what you have to do is you have to go to the Publish tab up at the top on the ribbon. And when you go to Publish here, you'll see that there's settings. You can go to Settings and you'll find Page and Printer Setup and Model. Actually hit Cancel there. Let's first select one of the options here. We have Print or Plot. That would be if you want to print it. I actually prefer, and it's kind of a nice tool to give you a better preview, is the PDF option. And then go to Settings. And we might want to set this to monochrome. You can set to color or grayscale, whichever one you prefer. Hit OK. And then go to Export. And now it's going to want to save this off as E6. Let's go ahead and hit OK. And then it will just use Adobe PDF format to bring it up. And here we see what it looks like before it's printed out. And using the Adobe printer is actually much easier than using the printer located inside of Pro Engineer. And here you can see all the dimensions as we put them in. And that concludes exercise 6.